Hey, what's going on? It's Wednesday, February the 13th, and I was just shooting a short video for Gopherwood guitars about this guitar. And as I was looking at some stuff online, I realized that I did the unboxing video for when I received this guitar 1 year ago today. So it's the 1 year anniversary of me receiving my official artist endorsement guitar with Gopherwood Guitars. This is uh, the 820 CE, and quickly became one of my favorite guitars. And I've played it a lot over the year, although I haven't posted many videos and stuff like that. I did just send a video off to Gopherwood, so make sure you follow them on Instagram and all of the other social media spots. Gopherwoodguitar.com, I believe, is the website. Really fantastic instruments, and I'm really proud and humbled to be a member of their artistic family, because they really are just a wonderful company, and just amazing people, and just full of an artist roster of some of the most amazing players. My friend Landon Jordan is a new artist with Gopherwood, as well as Eric Gales is with the company. So I definitely have my work cut out for me as being in good company with guys like that. So anyway, while I was doing this, I was also testing out, I recently got one of these Samson G-Track Pro microphones that has, it's a USB interface that has a 1/4 inch input on it. So for guitar playing, like today, I am plugged straight into this thing, into my Fishman Aura Spectrum DI pedal, into a TC Electronic Hall of Fame 2 pedal that I have set to a plate reverb, straight into this thing. So like if I cut the microphone out, which I'll do that for a second so you can hear it, which is this one. So anyway, that's what the straight out of the guitar into the Fishman Aura DI with a little bit of reverb from the TC Electronic Hall of Fame too. And obviously this has the microphone on there too, so you can hear a little bit of that blended in. Really cool product. I think I'm going to be getting a lot of work out of this thing for future live web chats and product demos and stuff like that anyway. So thought I would take this opportunity to just do a quick live web chat, because I hadn't done one in a little while. I thought I had done one in January, but I guess the last one I did was in December. So just a little quickie to check in with everybody and make sure that my YouTube channel is up and running. I keep talking a lot of smack about all the things that I'm planning to do, and keep being so busy that I don't get as many things done as I would like to. So follow me on my Instagram. I do a lot of posting probably there. I do more posting there about what's kind of happening while I'm out on the road with Jesse's Girls, the corporate band. We do a lot of wedding events and party band kind of stuff. I've been out with them a lot, and it looks like it's going to be a busy year with them. So I post a lot of road stuff while I'm out with them, as well as local stuff that I'm promoting here around the Atlanta, Georgia area. In particular, tonight being Wednesday, Katie Martin and I are doing the Dos Martins thing, acoustic performance and jam at Darwin's in Sandy Springs. This may be the last Wednesday we do at Darwin's for a little while. We had scheduled out January after the start of the year. They had to change up in their schedule. We had moved my regular jam jelly night, which was on Wednesday nights, to Thursday. And that's an ongoing thing, jelly night, Thursday nights at Darwin's. And we kind of backfilled in on the Wednesdays with Dos Martins, and it's kind of turned into a really cool, we've done a looper event. We've done had singer-songwriters sit in with us kind of thing. So it's been a lot of fun, but it's been more of an acoustic-minded songwriter jam kind of thing, not so much blues rock jam like I do with Jelly Night. So that's been a lot of fun. So we'll see after tonight if we end up coming back and doing some more of those things. We've talked with management about just doing a change up. They're trying out a lot of different things right now over there at Darwin. So we're glad we get to do the last several weeks there. So we're going to do that. And I may do a live web stream of tonight just to have that. And I think Katie may do that on her channel as well. Or we'll figure out which one we're going to go with. Because I think that's good to see what we're doing and what we're up to with it. I think the next gig that we have on the books is maybe a Wednesday in Auburn, Alabama at the Cigar and Fine Spirits, which is always a fun gig for me in particular because it's Whiskey Wednesday and they have a pretty decent selection in their humidor of cigars. And I do like the occasional cigar, so it's a good opportunity for me to go raid the humidor and find something new. So if you have any suggestions for a cigar that I may want to try out, send me a message or leave a comment about what I might want to check out with that. Anyway, not a whole lot of people on, but I didn't really schedule this out, let people know that I was going to be doing this. So I imagine we'll have more people check this out after I'm offline than actually while I'm doing it. But thank you guys for those who are checking it out. Looks like we got 3 people online. Let me see if I can read the chatty chat thing. Live chat. Let's see what that is. We do have a few people saying hello. Let's see. Sounds good, but clips when you hit too hard. At least coming from those speakers. Nice to see you. Hey, Martin, good to see you too. Make that money. Money. Let me back this off here. That's the one thing I don't have is this is kind of set to check the input, not necessarily the output. Doesn't look like it's clipping on the YouTube. Sorry, that was the mute button, so that doesn't help me at all. Is that still clipping, Paul? If you're still on, let me know. Or anybody who else is still on. That's better. No mud. Sweet. I've got it fairly EQ'd on this Fishman Aura as well. But distorto guitar is no good when you're playing acoustic stuff. Should be. Cool. Really like this guitar. It really plays very well. I dig it. Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, I've got the low end pretty well rolled off, and this thing has this Fishman has an auto feedback thing that just basically it'll discover whatever resonant frequencies are taking off if you're playing with a PA, which I'm not, so I'm not getting any speaker pushback at all. But I do find the last couple of times I've used it, it did clean up a couple of frequencies that were a little boomy on this guitar, especially when I have the pickup just wide open, because it's a blended undersaddle as well as a microphone that's on the output jack. So as you can imagine, just a lot of resonance is happening inside the body of a guitar. So it notches those out in like 3 different places automatically. And I find that it's just clearer. Like if I turn it off, here it is on. I'll turn it off. Let me do it without the microphone too, see if that makes a difference. I think it makes a pretty good difference. Certainly makes a difference in a PA when you're doing a live thing and you don't have you're doing throw and go stuff. You don't exactly have time to go through the parametric EQ and grab everything. It's pretty handy that this thing will find those frequencies pretty smartly. I dig that, and I do dig the Hall of Fame too. I just got this, and it's got this cool mash feature, which I haven't really messed with too much. That's on the plate setting. I'll have to do some reading up on it, but that mash button seems to, you hold it down with some pressure and it changes some parameter of each of the different reverbs in the pedal. Makes it a little brighter as far as I can tell. The high and low sounds great. You can tell on the low end right away. Yeah, man, I dig it a lot. I think for most acoustic guitar players, this kind of tool is one of the best things around, like forever. As a classical guitarist, playing purely acoustic instruments acoustically in a room, dealing with electric instruments or trying to amplify instruments and not use a microphone because the environment doesn't allow for it, just the undersaddle pickup I find is very quacky, and I don't like that sound. Way too much. It just doesn't sound very natural. That's not where you hear the sound. You hear the sound as it comes together out here. So this pickup system in this guitar is one of the more natural that I've heard anyway, all on its own, blending this with the microphone. And I do have some of the Aura, what do they call that? The acoustic imaging on, but it's just very slight. So if I go to all guitar, this is just the pickup and the microphone. Let me turn this microphone off so you can hear that. Which that's a decent blend of the pickup and the microphone in the guitar. But if I bring in just the imaging, let me turn that up for you. This is all imaging. And then here's a blend of, not like as much of the imaging. I like to hear a bit of the undersaddle because it gives a bit of a better attack, I think. Not quite so soft, which is where I've had it. Pretty cool. Pretty cool anyway. So I'm having fun experimenting with that. And there's a whole lot. I've had this Fishman thing for not quite a year. I got it sometime after this just because I wanted to have a reliable DI that I could bring out to shows with me. I've got a couple of other, like, I've got a radial. What is this one? This is just the J48. Oops, dropping things all over the place. This is a fantastic DI, active DI for all sorts of things. I got this mainly for recording electric guitar so that I could plug straight into this, go through to my amp that I would be miking up, and then capture a DI that I use for I use it for ease of editing, because sometimes when you're editing distorted guitars, because of all the information, the sound wave just looks like this fuzzy caterpillar. Whereas with a clean DI audio track, you see all of the transients, so it's a little bit easier to go and forensically cut and paste right at the top of the note. So I use that. Plus, you can use this to reamp stuff. So if you're into doing all kinds of stuff like that, having captured a really decent DI sound is really wonderful for all of that stuff. So this is good. You can also use it for live applications. I've used it live as well, plugging an acoustic guitar, this guitar, into it and going to the house there. Really nice sounding preamp in it. And I forget what, I think it's a Jensen in here. I forget. I'd have to read up on that, but it sounds really nice, sounds really natural. Plus, gives a nice clear signal to front of house for stuff like that and for recording. So this has been great. The Fishman Aura thing I really like, because I really heard more of it when I went and saw Rush a few years ago, and Alex Lifeson was playing his Les Paul with transducers, but he was going into a Fishman Aura system. And it was one of the best acoustic guitar sounds at a rock concert I've ever heard. And it was literally just coming out of a Les Paul. So kudos to Fishman for just making an amazing product that can do all of that stuff and still sound really wonderful and really natural. I know modeling and imaging and stuff is the technology curve is just pretty steep at the particular moment. Like, everything that you can do with, and I don't use a lot of amp modeling for anything. I do use some IR stuff from Radial, both in a DI that I keep on my small pedal board and the direct. I think the direct drive is the one I have on my pedal board, and then I have another one that goes between your head and your cabinet. It doesn't take. It's not a load box, but it does have an IR built into it that sounds like a 57 on a 412 with greenbacks or something like that. And I've recorded with that, and it sounds really good. Other things like Line 6 modeling and stuff, I've used stuff like that before, and I have bias by Positive Grid, and that's really handy as well. In a pinch, like it's sounding more and more natural the more time goes on. So it's pretty cool. All right, let's see. There's some more comments here. Always struggle trying to record classical guitar. The low A just hums like crazy. I need to get something like that. The cool thing about the Fishman Aura is it does have settings for multiple guitars. So it has, I believe it's 16 different settings built into it and images, and you can go online and read what all the different images are. But for dreadnought guitars, jumbo guitars, concert body guitars, classical guitars, 12-string guitars, mandolins, all sorts of stuff. So you have a lot of different acoustic things. I've not tried this with my classical guitar yet. That'll be the next test, because an undersaddle pickup on a classical guitar, you're already dealing with nylon strings, and then you do the undersaddle pickup thing, and that ends up sounding like plastic, really close to your ear, and not very warm and pleasing. So I tend to not like amplified classical guitar. But I have a feeling this is going to remedy some of that. So this will be pretty handy for that when I start doing a bit more of that stuff. So look into it for that. Can Darwin's get a wireless webcam type of thing to broadcast everyone that plays? That would boost social media stuff. I agree. And they don't do that. Um, Darwin's is an interesting little place, and I've been playing there for 20 years, and it's gone through a few different owners over the years. And before it was just kind of um, a blues stomp, like a roadside, um, like what you would expect, like a blues shack. It's not a fancy place. It's never been a fancy place. I remember the first time I played at the original Darwin's in Marietta, Georgia, um, when Kay was still the owner of it, and I was playing with Andrew Black in the Andrew Black band. And I hadn't been playing with him too long, but we had done several gigs for a couple months that I've been with him. And we played there. And I remember getting there, and like the idea was that we're going to be playing this cool place. And we get there, and like it's this little house on the side of the road, and it's just tiny little stage. And like it did not inspire me to think, man, this is going to be a great place. And we proceeded to have an out of body experience playing in that little room. So that original location is just very special for all the years and notes and bands and musicians. So many good friends of mine who are no longer with us have played with there and have seen play there, and like just what an amazing place in history for me personally to have been there. But in any case, it's well before web streaming and all of that stuff was going on there, and it was always just sort of a juke joint kind of place. As new owners have taken it over, one of the things that Aiken wanted to do is up the menu and do stuff like that. So it kind of became like this blues and burgers place, which was really cool, and it kind of changed the vibe of it. It helped bring more people in because of the decent menu. Not that it didn't have food before, but I think Aiken really put a little more attention into his passion for cooking as well as live music. And since they've moved, for a number of reasons, that location needed to go away because I think the owner of the building or the owner of the lot had some things going on with it. So it's sad that we're no longer at that location. But this other location that they're at now in Sandy Springs, bigger kitchen, which is a much more of an opportunity for the food side of what Darwin's does. But now it also does kind of seem like while it is a venue that national touring acts in the blues circuit do stop through, it definitely has more of the feeling of it's a restaurant that has live music, whereas before it felt like it was a tiny little just dark dingy venue that had food, and now it feels a bit more like that. So I think that if they did more webcasting and social media kind of stuff, I think that'd be good for them. But also they've got some other issues in that small room that I don't think they've quite sussed it out. And if you ever come to Darwin's, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about with the way that the room is laid out. In the first place, for a blues room, I can't ever bring my Telecaster in there because there's something about the way that the stage is wired that there is just a persistent, nasty 60 cycle hum that you can't get rid of. And like so many of my friends will come in with like a vintage Fender amp and a vintage Fender Strat or a Telecaster or something, and like it's just humming and howling like crazy, and you can't get rid of it. There's no line conditioning that out. It's in the wiring of the stage. It's just not wired up for that kind of stuff, and they need a proper electrician to come in and do all of that stuff. That's in the first place. In the second place, the way that the PA is set up, it's a very small PA, and it's a small room, so it doesn't need a lot of PA. But when you're looking at the stage, there's a gap between the front of the stage and where the tables are, and right over the tables is kind of like a little bit of a ceiling partition that's partial, and the main speakers are flown on the opposite side of that partition, pointing towards the back of the hall. So if you're sitting at that front row of tables, really all you're hearing is stage volume. So anybody singing they've got monitors coming up at them, but you're not really hearing any of the vocals coming through the mains because they're basically pointing behind you. Um, Finding a better place to put the mains and just do that more appropriately. That's something they've got to address as well. Um, just little things along the way that they need to tweak in that room. Let's see. Oh, imaging sounds almost like a compressor, but that blend you're playing now sounds the best. Yeah, I do like that. And it does have a little compressor built into it that I barely have cracked on. And that's basically just to take a little bit of that initial thwack off of the undersaddle pickup. Yeah, the parking at the old Darwin's was definitely more than challenging. Yeah, grounding could be a part of it. Some of it could just be that it's on the same circuit with lights. I haven't experimented with turning all of the lights off in that room, but grounding is certainly a part of it. How the wires are laid also makes a difference too. Power conditioning, making sure that it's pulling the right voltage off of the main junction box. I don't even profess to be any kind of an electrician, but there are some things about live sound and recording studio electricity for good, clean, conditioned power that is it's different than just home wiring. Any home would benefit from having really good electricity run that way, but it's obviously not necessary when you're just trying to run a toaster or a coffee maker. I don't think anybody complains about the tone of their Keurig or their dishwasher from a recording standpoint. So yeah, so that's all the stuff with Darwin's live casting from there. I've done a couple of them. I think there's one that I did the last time Katie and I did a Saturday, I think. But I didn't live cast it. I just recorded it on my laptop, and I think it overdrove a bit, so I didn't post it. I'll have to go watch that video and see if there's anything salvageable there, and just go from there. Anyway, well, that's about all I had for today. I just wanted to check in and make sure my YouTube channel was still pretty active, because this is becoming an ever increasing important part of my day-to-day business life. Hey, John, good to see you. Let's see, Dion. Still kind of new to live chat, so checking this out. I would love to learn guitar. Can you recommend anyone to follow to help me? Yeah. Depending on what you're looking to learn, like I'm going to be doing more instructional things with my YouTube channel, so please subscribe to my channel, and I'll try to help you out with some stuff. I also offer lessons via Skype and iChat. Acoustic guitar, obviously, classically trained here. YouTube is pretty dense with a lot of different stuff. So depending on the style of music that you're looking to learn, theory, so on and so forth, I highly recommend Rick Beato's page. Rick Beato, Beato. Rick is a friend of mine here in Atlanta, Georgia, and he has an amazing YouTube channel that he basically funds by selling a theory book called the Beato book, which I own. It is a fantastic resource. It's got everything from music theory straight on into really the depths of improvisation and writing and orchestration and stuff like that. He also is a brilliant, beyond being a brilliant musician, he's a brilliant producer. He explains a lot of stuff about recording and compressors and EQing and miking and like just everything, song analysis, like movie scoring analysis. It's really deep. And I think he's done some 700 videos or something like that, or 600 something videos. Like he's been just cranking out the content. So even if some of that stuff is a bit over your head, I would highly recommend everybody go subscribe to Rick Beato's channel. I also like JHS pedals. Josh has an amazing channel. It's really more centered on pedals and how to use them and how they work. That's fascinating. Also, That Pedal Show is an amazing one I would subscribe to, and I do subscribe to. Pete Thorne has an amazing YouTube channel as well, where he's not doing as much lesson stuff as he used to. But his the lessons on his channel are really good. He's an amazing guitar player. He does product demonstration videos and stuff too. He's just really, really great channel, really great content. Ben Eller also has a channel where he does actually a lot of instructional content. So look up Ben Eller's channel. I'm trying to remember if he has a funky name for his channel or if it's just under Ben Eller, like Uncle Ben is a funny thing that he calls himself. Or he does one series of videos called the Weekend Wank Shop, where he'll do a specific guitar solo or of a chunk of a tune as a weekend lesson for everybody to chew on. His content is really good. I would check that out. There's also another cat, and his name is escaping me, that I've subscribed to, but he does some instructional video stuff where he's been really good about like dissecting picking technique. And he's coined the phrase pick slanting, which we all use it. But he really hones in on the way that different players, when they're doing different things, tilt their pick and slant it and stuff. And like, he's got a bunch of great videos where he's got a contraption where he can put a camera over the guitar so you can really see the motion of a guitar player's right hand. I'm trying to remember his name. It's really not jumping out at me. I'm having a senior moment, and I'm blaming the gray in my beard. Troy Grady. There you go. Let's see. Yeah, man, everything's been pretty good. Busy. Could always be a little bit better, but I'm working on that. Dion, you're welcome, and please send me any questions or anything like that. If I can just help you out in the interim with any direct questions that you've got, or if you're interested in taking some lessons, let me know. I'll get you on my schedule. Yeah, YouTube is just amazing. Like, I probably spend more time on YouTube looking at stuff than, like, I've never been a big TV watcher, but YouTube is just sort of amazing. Especially like individual content kind of stuff. That's partly why I don't like, some people like Rick are really great about putting out tons of video and it's all amazing content, and you can just get lost. You could lose days, if not weeks, catching up on everything he's posted over there. And I try not to post too much stuff, one, because I don't think I have a good plan for that much interesting stuff. Like, these live chats are good because I can just kind of ramble. But I really need to get succinct with a plan of the things that I want to discuss. That way you can go and look through my videos and see which ones you want to watch. So putting out too much content, I don't think is really good for me at this particular moment, because of the developmental nature of where I am with my YouTube channel. Working on it, and like, it's just art, and this is just a creative process. So I don't think there's any harm or any foul for putting out a not so entertaining video where you're kind of stumbling over concepts and whatever. But it's a cool way to reach out to people, and at least on the live web chats, be able to have conversations directly, like in the moment. Like, this is great. I really dig that portion of it, rather than like producing all of this content, putting it up, and then having to wait to see what people think about it. Like, getting to talk to people as it happens is pretty hip. Well, anyway, before I go I'm going to test one more thing, not for my YouTube channel. I'm going to test it for my Instagram channel. And part of the reason I got this other interface, I've kind of taken off some time, like Paul knows me and Martin knows me. So like, I've been kicking around for more than a minute. Like, my beard wasn't always gray. In the last couple of years, I've kind of sat back on some things, and in that time, I have used it to kind of gather some new tools and some new resources. This guitar being one of them. The Hall of Fame reverb, this Ditto looper, this MacBook Pro that I'm doing this on, this Samsung G Track Pro. I've been a Mac user forever, and I've been an iPhone user forever. So most of that stuff I'm pretty comfortable with using. Dion, you're very welcome. And one of the things, like, I have an older Pro Tools I think this is a Digio 2 rack. So it's an older one that if you're a Pro Tools user, and you've upgraded your operating system, it won't support this one anymore. So like my Pro Tools computer is a 2012 Mac Mini that is still running whatever operating system is the last one that'll use this interface. So it doesn't even really go online anymore because it's basically capable of checking email and making records. So that's pretty cool. And it's a Mac Mini, so I kind of imagine it as being uh, a portable recording rig at a certain point when I was really starting to do more stuff. I was getting out on the road with my trio, trying to push my instrumental music or just my band with me singing a bit more. And I was going to use this as an opportunity to record a bunch of stuff and then have a constant way of releasing material that way. And it didn't come to fruition. I didn't really have a good plan for it, and it just had some indicators of that was not exactly the way I was going about it was exactly the way to go. So I kind of pulled back on that. And in any case, I still love the idea of being able to be creative in the field, on the fly, on the go. So I got a laptop, which obviously I'm using that now. The iPhone is clearly a thing. iPad. There's so many cool tools, and with the Mac iOS, you have GarageBand and lots of other things that you can be doing some recording with, and even if it's just writing demos or getting stuff out in content to social media and stuff, it's pretty neat. So long-winded way around, I have a tiny little thing that I got when I got the Bias app and Jam Up app for my phone, which I basically got so that I could be warming up on a bus or backstage and just use headphones, working out ideas to where, when you're playing electric guitar, if you don't plug into something, you're just hearing plink, 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 plink. And that has some nice features of, a metronome, a tuner, and some other things built into it that are really cool. I think now they have a little 4-track recorder on them. So if you wanted to sketch out an idea, you could do that as well. GarageBand has lots of amp sims in it as well, plus multi-tracking and drum loops and bass and piano and all kinds of stuff. So it's pretty cool for writing. So anyway, I got the Positive Grid Tiny interface, which is basically like it's got a phone jack. I don't have it out and about, but you can plug a guitar 1/4-inch cable into it, and I think it just has a regular like 1/8-inch headphone jack out. So you go in, guitar 1/4-inch in and out. And I've actually used it for some rehearsals where I've been in a pinch and there wasn't an extra amp that was working, to where we're all listening on headphones anyway. So it's been cool in that way. So I found this a while ago, and this is made by IK Multimedia, which they make a lot of really cool products that I own now. And this is the iRig. I don't know if you can see that. The iRig Duo. It's got 2 inputs on it, so you can plug a 1/4-inch cable into it or a couple of microphones. Actually have trim pots, actual outputs. It's battery powered, or you can bus power it off of your laptop. So as a tool, if you're recording on the fly or writing demos or working in a hotel room, this is just a bit more than the Positive Grid one that I got a while back. Just gives me a little bit more flexibility of how I can. It also has phantom power if I was going to use some kind of a large diaphragm condenser that needed phantom power, or anything else if I was miking to record. So anyway, with the battery power, you can use this with your phone because it does have, you can see that, Thunderbolt Mini, which is really cool. It also has USB, so I can plug this into my computer and USB power it, not use the battery at all. As well as it does have a regular. Oops, it also has a regular wall wart possible adapter. So I'm going to do a little test with this on Instagram with my phone, because for some reason I can't figure out how to do anything with Instagram on my laptop. And maybe there's an app that I can download, and I've just been lazy and haven't looked for it. But I can look at Instagram, but I can't post from my laptop. So I'm gonna try it with my phone and just see what's up with this, because I've only plugged into it to make sure it works, and I've never done anything with it. And I've had this for several months, and it's a really slick thing. And I think they even just came out with a more modern version of this that has even better A to D conversion and stuff like that. There's all kinds of really cool tools for guitarists and songwriters on the go. So just trying to do some stuff with that. So yeah, let's see. Anything else happening here? Not growing old, growing wise. Yeah, there's a bit of that. um, right on. So yeah. So anyway, that's probably going to be it for me for right now. Maybe check back. Decide to subscribe to my channel and stuff like that. If you go to my Instagram page, which is instagram.com/Mike2of5Martin, there is a link to my CD Baby account, and you can download my entire first record, 2 of 5, for 99 cents right now. You can get the whole record for $1. So what you would normally download a track for on iTunes, you can get my entire record. So if you're new to my stuff and you want to check out what I've been doing, that's $1 for an entire album. That's 9 tracks. And there's 2 other songs on there. One is a Christmas tune, which I guess we're past that season, but that's on there. And there's also a ballad single that I released called Wherever You Are. And I think I've got that available to download for 50 cents right now. So if you'd like to help fund this channel and all the things that I do, go check that out and click on that and download some stuff. That's a good sale that's been going on for a little while, and I appreciate all of that. And also maybe check out the live thing that I do on Instagram here in a few minutes, because I'll do that for a few minutes, and sometimes I'll just be in the car and just do a little live thing there. I don't use it like a lot of people do, but I'm trying, I'm figuring stuff out. Yeah, there's that. That's everything. And if I do a live stream of tonight, I don't know if I'll record tonight and then upload it, or if I'll just do a live stream. Maybe I'll just do a live stream on YouTube and let it roll. It really depends on the reliability of Darwin's Wi-Fi. Because I think I've run into that problem before when I was live streaming on Monday nights, that sometimes things got a little garbledy-gook because the upload speed was not so awesome. Good question. That's a great way to sum this up. How is Drive coming on? Drive is my new record, for anybody who's new to my stuff, that I started working on a few years ago. It's a double album, all instrumental stuff. It's very ambitious. Basically, it's the idea of, I kind of got known for doing a song with a band that was like 14 minutes long. So clearly I have this symphonic, epic, long attention span for musical ideas. So I kind of upped the ante from there, because everybody was asking me if there was a part 2 for that. And for a while I'd entertained the idea of trying to do a part 2, but that song was about the book of Revelations, which is kind of the end of the Bible. So there was a part 1 that I could imagine. And I may revisit that idea and do that. But I think if I were to do that, the tune Wormwood was co-written with Chris Jericho, and he did all the lyrics. So what I would probably do is just keep it in that spirit. And maybe I would invite Chris to do some lyric writing for me on a part 1 for that, and then go nuts from there. But anyway, this album Drive is autobiographical concept thematic opus that is really one piece of work. It's really just one long work that is woven together. It's 20 different compositions, but it has a complete overture and postlude, I guess is the best way to describe it. That there are quotes from all the pieces throughout the album, and like I said, it does tie thematically together in the same way that Wormwood kind of does, where it's very complex. So basically what I did with a 14-minute game in Wormwood, I have taken 2 hours worth of music and I've stitched it all together. So it's a bit of it's a bit of a puzzle, and all the tunes, I think they hang together separately on their own. I don't think you need them inside the context of the record, but I definitely wanted to create something that tells a complete story and cycles back to the beginning. And I think I've done that pretty well through the demo process. I've not picked it up and been working on it specifically for a little while, partly because there's a few things that I ran into. Just being completely honest, because if you follow me online, you've probably seen some other posts about me talking about my depression, and that record is sort of the depression record because it's very about things that I've been going through in my life, and just the very concept of driving has multiple connotations from the idea of driving. And ever since I was old enough to drive and got my driver's license, it's just been my escape from getting away from my family, getting away from friends, just being alone in the car and just going for long drives has always been a thing that's been very therapeutic for me. Plus the idea that as a music person, professional, I drive everywhere, and I have about circumnavigated the globe. I don't know how many times in a car or a van or a bus or a train or whatever, an RV. So there's a part of that you have to drive to get to where you're going, and then you need the motivation, and that is your drive to do a thing, complete a thing, attain a goal, set a new goal, go after it, whatever that is. So multiple thoughts about that, plus the idea that this is all about your memory, and all of these things that are my experiences are part of my memory. And what is your brain and your memory but some kind of a drive, a hard drive. So a little kitschy about all of that stuff as to why that's all tied together. But the subject matter for me being so personal is staring directly into some of my depression and some of the things that are very personal to me. In particular, one piece is called saudade, which is a Portuguese word that doesn't have a direct translation, but it's a longing, a sadness for something that was, but that will never be. And that in particular is dealing with a miscarriage that my wife and I had. That you have to get over things in your life, but losing a child that way was devastating for me and my wife. And um, looking at stuff like that in a musical context and dealing directly with how I feel about those things was more than intense. And I needed that intensity in the writing process. But then in the ability to perform it, I was having a very hard time finalizing where I wanted to go with the rest of the actual production of it. Partly being the producer, engineer, technical person for everything, and trying to both be capable of playing something that is technically difficult, but more so it's emotionally difficult to play it, because I want this, and I believe this record is hung together with the most emotional music that I have ever written, and it needs to be performed that way. And I just found myself incapable of doing all of the technical work and being such an exposed nerve. I need to get everything to a place where it's ready for me to do the work so that I can be the guitar player that is an exposed nerve and play very emotionally and very connectedly without worrying about the technical aspects of did I get it to sound right without something clipping or something like I can't do both of those things, not with something that's so emotional. And I always try to play with some very connected emotional sense, whether it's a heavy metal thing or whatever. Like the better aggressive music to me comes from a very real place. So I definitely don't shirk that, but this is just a subject matter on a lot of this stuff that's very dark. It deals with some very grave circumstances, and one of the things that I'm hoping to do with the promotion of the record is maybe use it as an outreach or a promotional national suicide hotline, because some of it is dealing with my own thoughts of suicide and my own attempted suicide. That I haven't talked a lot about, but I've alluded to in some of the web chats that I've done. And it's very serious. And I've been very fortunate to have very good family and friends around me who've been very supportive of me in particular, but also in part of that walking myself off of the precipice, I've needed to step back a bit from work. So I've been working on a lot of other things and getting ready to jump back into that work. And I think 2019 is really, really a lot of that stuff. So the short answer on Drive is it's there and it's almost ready for me to get back to work on. There's a few things that I've got to knock out first. One of the things I've talked about that I'm going to be doing is a project called Level 5 with my friend David Mannion. It was probably best known for playing keys with the band Kansas. It's an instrumental progressive album that he's working on that I'm really excited about doing a lot of guitar work on. And he's got a lot of great players lined up to work on that. So that's going to happen. There is also talk with Dreaded Marco about getting back in the studio and doing some stuff after much Sturm and Drang and not getting some work done just because of life circumstances with all of us in that camp. Plus, Katie Martin and I have talked about doing at least a Dose Martin EP, which we've both been so busy we've not really had as much time to sit down in the same room and hash that stuff out too. I did just do some recording with Dixie Duncan for an acoustic album with him. So be on the lookout for that. It's out, called The Kingdom of Nothing. And it's great. I don't even have a copy of it yet because I haven't seen him since the last time I was in the studio with him. But I'm going to see him in 2 weeks. We're playing down in Orlando, Florida for WJJO. They do a little festival every year, and they invite us back. So I'm excited about going and doing that in Orlando. So yeah, there's your short answer for that. Oh, you're welcome, man. It's hard stuff to talk about, which is probably why it's so difficult for a lot of people with depression issues that get to such a place. Is none of us want to be seen as weak. None of us want to be seen as somebody who's complaining or whining. You know, we feel like you should be strong enough to deal with life stuff. And then sometimes life stuff just gets on top of us, and it's okay to need help. It's okay to reach out for help, and it's okay to be depressed. And there's a lot of things that I've discovered along the way that I think as I get back into working on the record, I will be dealing with, because I think everything I've gone through with where I was that put me in the place to start working on this record in this particular way, and everything I've come through to get to here today is leading me on a path that I think is important and is probably going to be at the next big swing in my career in life, because this music journey life it's not really my job. You know, it really is sort of the profession of being yourself and being honest and exposed in a way. And it's really hard to deal with topics like this and not speak about them. So I would rather be an instrument of good in the world, that I don't necessarily want to just deal with depressing stuff and all of that. But if I end up being known for doing one thing, which is creating something that allows people that have their own version of depression and their own version of this darkness that we carry around with us, if it helps them feel some camaraderie that they're not alone and inspires them to either find their own way of working through their issues therapeutically through music, through art, through writing, reaching out to people, being willing to call a suicide hotline if they ever found themselves in such a dire place, or at least set up a thing. Like I won't name any names, but I have a few good friends where we have a catchphrase, and if I were to find myself in a bad enough spot, I can text them this absurd phrase, and they know I'm in a bad place, and you know, no questions asked, they're going to come help me out. And that's amazing to have friends that are willing to care and willing to put themselves out of their way to make sure that you're okay. And I want to be that same kind of light for people as I go through stuff. So yeah, it's going to happen. It's going to finish. I may also, I thought about doing this. This is the first time I've ever talked about this on the air or on the internet. And I'll leave with this because I don't want to say too much about it. But I thought about the idea of doing another single, which was the idea that I did with Wherever You Are. I need a single. I can get out there. People can hear it and kind of hear where I am and so on and so forth. I thought because of the scope and the size of what the Drive album is and what it's going to be, because it really is a massive undertaking. Um, I thought, it'd be good is if I just had a couple things that are maybe a little more fluff that I can just put out there that is just going to be what people who have been following me are really excited about. They're excited about guitar playing, and they're excited about some orchestration stuff and all of that, but they want great guitar stuff, not necessarily melancholy and all of that stuff. So I thought, well, it'd be great. I'll do a single, and I have this idea for a piece that's just I haven't even committed a note yet. Everything is it's like the opposite of the emotional compact of what Drive is, because Drive is all impulse. It's all just exposed nerve, emotional stuff, and there's some cerebral stuff going on in there too. But it's much more emotional than anything else. Um, so I thought, well, this would be great. I'll just come at this from um, a completely mathematical, theoretical construct, and I will arrange this thing, and it will be so serial. If you know what serial music is, it'll be like really like when you're creating something. The idea you want to be free, but I find that restrictions are sometimes the most uh, inspiring things that you can do as a writer, or as a producer. Like challenging yourself to say, all right, I'm only going to use 4 tracks or 16 tracks, even though in Pro Tools I can use as many tracks as I want to. So I say, nope, you're only going to do this, or you're only going to use these instruments, and you're only going to use these over there. Like restrictions give me as an artist something to rise up against, and rail against. And I find that works really well for me, which also explains why I took a day job in a warehouse while I've not been playing so much, because I have no business in a warehouse. I never should have ever worked in a warehouse, but it's a humbling, and I needed a humbling, even though I've been pretty down. Don't think because you're down you don't need a humbling. I needed a humbling, and I needed a different kind of humbling. So working in a warehouse for me was a good way to do that, because it's physical, it's non-intellectual, even though I'm capable of getting jobs that are much higher paying because I have a college degree and I'm fairly intellectual and so on and so forth. I went after a menial job with a menial wage because I just needed to be there so that I could look up. I needed a way to look up. You've got to find a way to look up. And I remember being younger and just doing other menial jobs, and it gave me something to rail against, to bolster my confidence, or whatever the healthy part of my ego that wanted to get out there and be like, no, I'm worth teaching. I'm a good musician. I should be teaching. I should be performing more. I should be able to pay my bills and feed my family with music. And I've done that. And I was shrinking away from that, and some of that is just the nature of the music industry right now. And also the nature of just the luck of the draw of what happens when you're a musician in the music industry. And there are things that I haven't been willing to do, which is why I've not made as much money as I probably could have. So rectifying those things. So railing against this job is a good way of dealing with that stuff. And like I was saying about the coming up with another instrumental song along the way, um, the one that I have an idea for is way more complicated than I thought it was going to be, but I'm so enamored with the idea that I think it's going to be exciting when I get to work on it, and I just keep collecting my notes on it so that when I actually sit down to commit the music work to all of the intellectual pieces that I'm putting together in there. I don't know that I'll actually be able to get it done before I actually finish Drive, but when I get to work on that stuff, I think it's going to be interesting, um, in a lot of different ways, because it definitely is going to be a flexing of a multitude of uh, I've said the word intellectual too many times, but intellectual contingencies, if that makes any sense. So that's all I'll say about that. I won't say any more about it until I actually commit work to it. Um, Yeah. Let's see. Thanks, Paul. Really appreciate that, man. And I've been bad about just getting out and about and seeing people. So it's one of the reasons I've been doing the jam night again with Jelly Night at Darwin's. When I stopped doing the jam, um, I was ready to stop doing the jam. I needed to no longer do that stuff, because some of the stuff that's been getting on top of me is is the level of work that I'm doing. And I've been hosting a jam at Darwin's for 20 years. I've been playing there for 20 years. And when I started playing there, it was $75 to host the jam. And you're working all night, but you knew you were going to make $75 plus some tips. Great. And then that got reduced to $50 a night some years later. And then it's been reduced to, literally, this is inside baseball, and like there's like this unwritten rule that you're not supposed to pull back the curtain and talk about money and stuff like that in the music industry. But I'll just be straight with you. Like, I haven't mentioned that stuff because everybody thought I did so well when I joined Fozzy and Stuck Mojo and I was touring and traveling, and like I did okay with them, but we weren't working enough to where I was making great money. And even still working at Darwin's, the deal that I have with them now, and it's been for the last several years, has been a portion of bar sales. So if people don't buy food and they don't buy drinks, the bar doesn't pay us out anything, and tips. So I've literally gone in and worked the jam, and jammers come out all night, and jammers typically don't spend money, unfortunately, and they don't tip the band, but they're very demanding that they want to get up and play, and they've been on the list and they've been here for a couple hours and blah blah blah. So you have to service people, and then at the end of the night you make $6 or $12. Makes you question, why are you doing this? Why are you working so hard? We want to, forget about the idea of, I have this concept that I am Mike Martin, and I've been in these bands, and I've opened for Steve Vai, I've opened for Tony McAlpine, and I've opened for Richie Kotzen, I've opened for Yngwie and Bumblefoot, and I've done all of these, and it's great that I've done all these things. Part of me needs to remember that I'm the guy that does that, because that's important, and I've worked really hard to be in a position where I can do those things. Not just be in a position where I can get those gigs, but be good enough to do those gigs where people aren't throwing rotten vegetables at me. People actually walk away and be like, yeah, that guy was good. That's great. But also don't need to be so caught up in the mystique of that I'm not willing to do just a jam. But it has been frustrating doing jams. And like tonight, working with Katie Martin, it's the same deal. We make a portion of sales and we work for tips. And I don't think people know that, which is probably a part of the reason why it's so frustrating. But if you do go to a jam, whatever city you're in, whether it's Atlanta or anywhere else, go to any jams. Support the jam by, if you're not going to buy a beer, buy a soda. If they have food, buy a sandwich there. Don't eat dinner and then go out to the jam. If you're going to hang out and partake in all of that stuff, support it in some way with your dollars. And that's the only way to do that, is by spending your dollars. And if you don't want to buy a sandwich and you don't want to buy a beer or a whiskey or any of that stuff, buy one for somebody else. Buy somebody in the band a drink. If anybody in the band has a record for sale, buy their record, buy their t-shirt, support it in some kind of way. Because a lot of these, the venues are not paying the bands, a flat fee. Like, I wish it was the days where, when I was hosting the jam at Nick's Back Porch with John McKnight and Kirk Plunkett, we did Wednesdays there for 3 years solid while I was in Stuck Mojo, which that gig literally saved my life, because we would go out and we were working our butts off, and we were not making the most money, partly because we were trying to keep it in a position where whatever money the band was making, we were trying to find a way to reinvest that money back into the band. So musician fees were the first thing on the chopping block. So there were some tours that, we made decent money, and there were some tours where we didn't make such decent money, but we were all in it for the end goal of what we were trying to achieve, with Stuck Mojo at the time. And coming home off the road, that was a steady gig that I had at Nick's, and it was guaranteed $100 a Wednesday. I always knew I had 100. So I knew I had $400 a month coming off the road with Stuck Mojo or Fozzy. I cannot tell you what a blessing that is, to know that, half of your mortgage is paid. I don't know how I'm going to pay for gas. I don't know how I'm going to pay for groceries, but half of my mortgage is paid. So I'm halfway to being able to take care of stuff. So you can't overlook those things, but having that guarantee is long gone. Like, that's been a long time ago, 10 years ago since I've had a guarantee on a jam like that. And now just, every once in a while we'll have a decent jam night. Like last Wednesday, I'll fully disclose that I made $67 last Wednesday, which I was very happy to make, because that was the most money that I think Katie and I had made individually. So that's, my split of that was $67. And then Thursday, it was a much busier night, but there's 3 people in the band. And the jam is much more active. So we're working a lot more to service the jammers that come out. I think I made $52, and I pay for my own meal and my own drinks at the bar. So if I buy a sandwich and I get a drink, that's going to be $12. So I made $40 last Wednesday, which is not quite enough to pay my bills. But you do that for a month, and you're like, okay, well, it's, $160 if I make that consistently. That's gas money. That's cell phone bill. That's some other expense. It's not enough to, you know, start making a whole lot of financial decisions based on, but it does alleviate some bills along the way. So you don't piss on it. You take it with gratitude, but it's I'm finding that this is more of the around town work that's available, at least in Atlanta. It makes it very frustrating. Let's see, where is everybody? Um, oh yeah, yeah, those are really cool. Those old honers are great. The headless ones, man. Really like a affordable Steinberg, really cool. Um, oh, let's see. Yeah, man, definitely a thing. Oh yeah, original music is even worse. Clinics could be a thing. That was part of my YouTube channel. Started doing well a few years ago, where I started doing demonstration videos for Orange amplifiers. And if you go through my channel, that's and see the analytics on how many views my channel has gotten. I don't know what the number is right now. I'll have to look it up, but it was somewhere around a half a million views for my entire channel, and a lot of that is it half a million or quarter of a million? I forget. It's been a while since I've looked. Maybe it was somewhere around 300,000. Um, but that's a lot of views, and a lot of that is really organic, just based on I shot these videos for Orange and that people clicked on them, which is great. Like I think the one that I did for that amp, the OR15, I think that one alone is getting close to 100,000 views or something like that. It's crazy. Just doing a demonstration video for things like that, and I still get messages all the time on those videos. It's been a couple of years since I've done one for all of those products, and people are buying them. So like that's been really good. And my channel was monetized for a while. I made a little bit of money off of YouTube that way. Um, since then, YouTube has changed the way that they monetize their channel. So now you have to have so many subscribers plus however many hours of content viewed per year, which is partly why I'm doing these web chats. Because if I do this, it's been an hour and there's 4 people watching, and if all 4 of you guys have watched, that's 4 hours of channel views, which goes towards my tally, which allows me to hopefully work back to getting this channel monetized again, um, which would be really great, because that's definitely an income stream that is worth spending the time on. But with the product demonstration stuff, if I can tie that into my YouTube channel, I kind of wanted to do that with Jam Night to see if I couldn't make that part of a clinic on gear and other things. Um, there's definitely a thing for that, but you got to be tied in with clinics. Are really either tied to music shops or music manufacturers. So like doing a clinic for Gopher Wood guitars would be a really good thing to do. And I would need some kind of a venue to do that, whether it would be a music shop that is a dealer, an exclusive dealer for Gopher Wood guitars. That way people could see multiple models, or something that I could set up with like a small trade show or something with Gopher Wood, to where Marvin, my artist rep, could bring out a few models for people to try that stuff out, and we could talk about the different things within the construction and the company and the company philosophy, because it's a Christian-based company, which is very important to me, and I think that's it's a really beautiful thing about this company, um, so on and so forth. So I think that could be a part of it. Plus, it will certainly be a thing that I do when I take my music back out on the road. That's a great way to tie in, because instrumental guitar is really very gear centric anyway. It's not really mass consumable unless you're Joe Satriani, or Steve Vai, or you're a part of like the Generation X tour or something big like that. Angel Vivaldi's been doing great work doing his guitar collective tours, and I certainly would love to be a part of one of those in the future. But I think I definitely need an album that I'm promoting to even talk with him or ask him about, hey man, what would you think about me jumping on one of those tours? But I think those are really great. Other than that, like instrumental guitar, like it's all about just the culture of the guitar. Like what strings do you use? What picks do you use? What pickup do you use? What DI do you use? Everybody's curious about that stuff. So really, you're pitching something to somebody. So the commercial aspect of it is, I think, just part and parcel. It's part of the community. It's part of the culture, and it's cool. Like we all like to talk about gear and all this stuff anyway. It's not like it's a selling out kind of thing. Like I'm just slinging hash to try to keep the bills paid. I think it's a cool part of it. I think it's a very cool part of it. I think that's why so many channels that do rig rundowns that maybe Steven Wilson doesn't have his own channel where he goes through. These is all the stuff that I use. People will watch videos by like premierguitar.com about his rig rundown because they're interested in, like, he's a brilliant artist and a brilliant guitar player. What stuff is he using? He's clearly one of the guys who's using it in the studio and on the road. I think that's a really amazing, thing to be able to see somebody who's actually in the trenches using stuff. Yeah, I do think the clinic thing is going to be a good part of stuff for sure. And Ken Stanton, Kenny is a friend of mine. I think if anybody that knows me, at least in the Atlanta area, I did sales for Ken Stanton for a long time, years ago, and also taught guitar lessons at one of the locations here in Atlanta for a long time as well. Kenny is a longtime friend that I've known for 25 years. So certainly, yeah, I think he would be into doing something like that. But again, I think it needs to be tied to some kind of a promotional thing, whether it's somebody's got to pay for it is the idea. For a company like Ken Stanton to stay open late, for someone to do a clinic, they're going to want someone to buy stuff because that's what you're selling for. So if it was for PV, Ken Stanton's a big PV dealer, or for Ibanez, they're a big Ibanez dealer. Even though I am an artist with PV, though I haven't been very active with PV the last few years. And I have a loose relationship with Ibanez, though I'm not an Ibanez endorsee. Like something like that, to where they're going to promote it, they're going to advertise it to help promote whatever things that they're selling right now. Even if it's just the new Tube Screamer Jan Ray Venerum mashup pedal that they've made or something like that. Or Orange Amps, they're a big Orange dealer as well. There's a lot of opportunities for that stuff, but you just got to figure out where the money is for that, because there's a cost of production for putting it on and advertising the thing. There's certain a thing where I'm doing it because I'm hoping I'm going to get paid. So who pays me to do it? If I were to do something like that through Orange, for example, would Orange pay me to do a clinic like that? Because Orange has enough people that go around as their sales reps that are all killer players. They go into shops and they demonstrate stuff and all of that. As a brand ambassadorship, like there's a thing to it. It's just figuring out how to do that stuff and who writes the check for it. Or if I do it part and parcel the way that I imagine doing it, I'm on the road. If I'm doing a Saturday night in Chicago, that I can go to a Chicago music shop for whatever manufacturer, whether it's an Orange dealer or whatever. And that's part of the way that Orange is helping me promote my tours, that I go to Orange dealers and I do demonstration for a couple of hours in the evening before my show, or maybe the day of my show, to help promote that stuff and promote my own show. That gives the music shop the impetus to promote my show and get people to come out to my show, because I'm servicing both the manufacturers of stuff that they sell, so on and so forth. So I think there's a lot of pluses to doing stuff like that. I haven't quite formulated a way to do that effectively, because the main thing is it's got to be value that I can offer to a manufacturer or a music shop that's going to be worth their while to do that. And also it's got to be worth my artistic while. Otherwise, because of my interest in gear and my experience in music retail and stuff like that, I could just say, well, the hell with this performing stuff. I could just go be some kind of a brand ambassador, roving sales rep for any manufacturer and just make their stuff sound good and sell stuff that way. If that's all I'm doing is selling stuff, well, why don't I just go get a sales job, but do it at the national level for a big company like Orange or a PV or whomever. there's certainly something to be said for that, but I'm still holding on to the idea that I'm an artist, damn it, and that I'm gonna make it as an artist, and you watch me do it. Um, I don't know. I think it's kind of all of the above. I think multiple income streams are all a part of the thing. Uh, yeah, busking is definitely a thing. You can make money busking. You got to know where you are in the laws about busking. I haven't busked in a long time. When I went to college, I went to the College of Charleston, and there's the whole historic market area, and they have the Spoleto Festival every spring, and there's people coming out to see cultural things from all over the world. So I would busk down on the market, and if you didn't have a permit, the police would chase you off. But I would just move a block over and open up a guitar case, and basically I would just practice everything I was working on in college with my classical guitar studies. And if I got moved to another corner, well, I get to start over and play all of my pieces again. I'd make a little bit of money doing that stuff. It was good for that. Let's see. Yeah, hard work is definitely a piece of it. I think just not giving up. I think there is probably something to the notion that, if you work hard enough and long enough at an industry, you're eventually just rewarded within a position within that industry, whether it's the academic world in colleges, music schools, or just in the performing world. There's plenty of people I know that maybe they haven't had any tenacious success with anything they've created on their own, um, but their name has been out and around for so long that, like, you just can't ignore them. So they're just accepted as a part of the music community and whatever piece of it they're associated with. Um, yeah, and again, I'm not so worried about, does it suck that I can't do it without the promotion of a product? No, but that's also part of the, like, why does it matter that I got a relationship with this Go Forward guitar company? Just to cycle back to the idea, it's like my 1 year anniversary, when I got my endorsement guitar. Um, this is an amazing company, and they promote their artists as much as they promote their own instruments. And I think they're a company that understands that when you create a musical product, something as personal as a guitar that your hands are going to be on, it has to be inspiring. It has to work with the artist to allow us to create music in a very inspired way. So the better that they're promoting the artists that do this stuff, the better that promotes their own tools that they're selling. The fact that I get excited about playing, this beautiful sounding guitar. That's I think that sells guitars. The fact that you can just do that, like on a guitar that doesn't play well, it doesn't sound well. I wouldn't have done that, just off the top of my head. So having a guitar that is inspiring, that it gets out of your way, I think is important. Which is why I don't just, I've done a lot of stuff for a lot of different companies. And when I was an artist with Peavey, I was excited about being an artist with Peavey because I was buying their stuff already. I'm excited about having whatever relationship that I have with Ibanez guitars because I buy Ibanez guitars and I own several Tube Screamers. I'm probably most proud of my relationship with DiMarzio pickups. I use all DiMarzio cables. I use DiMarzio pickups in all of my guitars. I have DiMarzio clip lock straps on virtually every instrument that I own, and I've given them to lots of other people. And now they use them all the time too. DiMarzio, I use all of my electronics, my 5-way switches, my volume pots, my tone pots, all of that stuff. Like I get all of that stuff from DiMarzio. They're really the best company and the best endorsement that I have had my entire career. And again, I was already buying their stuff. I was already using their stuff. Everything that I just mentioned that I use of theirs, I was buying all of this stuff at retail anyway, because it's superior and it is the sound that I'm looking for in my head, and I feel like my guitars all work better when I have this stuff, and I'm more inspired by the tone that I get from my guitars when I have all of their components in my guitars. So even if a guitar is working great, I still swap out all the electronics for DiMarzio stuff, because to me it just opens up the guitar in such an important way. Um, and they're so incredibly supportive to me as an artist, and really caring about what what my sound is and what I'm expecting out of a pickup, what I'm expecting out of the music that I'm creating, because they know that they're a part of that. It's not just that they sell these things with magnets and copper wire coiled around it. Like, they know that they're an integral part of what artists are getting inspired, and the sound of a guitar might be the very thing that spurns a new song or a new riff or a new anything, or the sound of a record or the sound of a generation. Like, they know that that's important, and they know their place in the world, in the music world, in the guitar world, for what they've already contributed to. But also, they don't, in my experience, just rest on that reputation of what they've done over the decades. Like, they are just as committed to young artists up and coming, and artists like me doing the things that we do and being inspired. It's not just about they created the Super Distortion, or they created the PAF Pro and that's enough, or they created the signature pickups for Steve Vai and that's enough, or the signature pickup for Joe Satriani or anybody and that's enough. It's never enough. Like, they're just as excited about hashing out details with me about a guitar that I'm trying to find the right pickup for. And whether it's they have a new product that they want me to try out because they think it's going to work for what I'm describing, or maybe it is just the tried and true. Maybe the PAF Pro is just the right thing for what I'm describing. I need this guitar to do. Even though the PAF Pro has been a pickup in their arsenal for decades, still an amazing pickup. It's still amazing every time I play a guitar with a PAF Pro in it. I immediately light up like a Christmas tree, because it's such an amazing sound that to me works with the tone of whatever guitar it's put in. It's not like some pickups that, like, it's got such a character and such an output that it doesn't matter what piece of wood you slap it into. Like, to me, all DiMarzio pickups really, especially the ones that I like, the medium output pickups, like, they're very dependent on, you've got to put it in a guitar with a decent piece of wood, be a decent marriage of the body construction and the neck construction. They have to work simpatico to where this is all toneful, and then you put the right pickup in there, and then it works with it. And I feel like in my relationship with DiMarzio and all the conversations that I've had with them about what my needs as an artist are, they've always served that. So, like, would I ever care that I was in a position to, be a pitch guy for DiMarzio? Absolutely not. For everything that DiMarzio has given me as an artist, just an inspiration, forget about my relationship with them, just in what their products have done for me as an artist. And just, it's one thing I don't worry about. I can get beyond that and just get into the music that I'm trying to create without worrying about, this pickup is too harsh, or this cable is like, I feel it's too much capacitance, or there's too much. Like, no, all that stuff is out of my way, and I get to be me, and go after, whatever the muse is. And that to me is the best sign and the best endorsement I can ever give a company. And DiMarzio certainly does that for me. Let's see. Jimi Hendrix was made by a simple switch to the value, right? It's such an important thing, when you think about all of that stuff, the tools that we all use. Yeah, that you put the right tool in the right, master's hand, and, like, it almost doesn't matter what the tool is. But then again, the right tool with the right artist, that transcends that. Like, I'm a good enough guitar player to where I could pick up, I've got a little half-sized Ibanez guitar that I got for traveling, just a simple 6-string. This little thing, I haven't even modded it yet. Just this little, whatever it is, I don't even remember what the model is. The Geo micro thing. I mean, they're kind of just made as kids guitars, but these are legit little guitars, man. Like it sounds good. I've gigged with this. I've certainly done plenty of rehearsals with this guitar, taught plenty of lessons on this guitar, um, and bring it as a little travel guitar. Anytime I need something to, if I'm going to leave a guitar at a venue and I would need to practice on the bus or practice in a hotel room, like this is the guy. It's got a great little neck on it, and I haven't even swapped out pickups or anything on it yet. But it's a great little thing. Um, it also helps that I can play a guitar. Um, so I don't let little things like that get in my way. Is it a professional guitar? Arguably, no. I would say that Paul Gilbert has his own signature version of that guitar, but you know that has DiMarzio pickups in it. I think I don't remember if it has locking tuners. It's got a fancier paint job. Ooh, and it fell over. Um, Stuff like that. So if you hear me play that, be like, wow, that guitar sounds great. And then you hand it to a kid and you're like, it sounds like a kid's guitar. So yeah, but you could also hand a $3,000 Les Paul to a kid who doesn't play and it sounds like a kid's guitar. You know, you put that guitar in my hands or somebody else like Paul Gilbert or Jimmy Page or anybody better than me. And you have a masterful instrument in the hands of somebody that can create with it and really dig in and find all the nuances of the instrument. Yes, yes. Um, so yeah, like that's all an important part of it. Anyway, I think I have. I was going to just do this quick YouTube thing, and I have been on for an hour and a half. So I want to thank everybody for hanging out and having a cool conversation with me. Like I really enjoy this, and I need to get on a regular schedule of doing this. I just need to find a good day and time where I can carve that out and maybe just do it on a schedule, whether it's like a every Sunday kind of thing. A lot of Sundays have been travel days for me. And also when I do find I have time, Pete Thorne, who I follow his page a lot, he does a Sunday live web chat. And after I've watched his web chat for a couple of hours, I don't necessarily feel like web chatting because I feel like I'm good with that. Um, so I'll find a time. Like I may do something that's a little bit more philosophical too. Like maybe it's not necessarily something here, but maybe it's finding some place to go have a cigar and talk about a good cigar and talk about music and philosophy and life stuff. Yeah, I think that's good. Not everything can be just music promotion. I think what makes better art more interesting is that it's written or created about expressing real life stuff. Um, and then you can talk about all the, does it matter what type of horsehair brushes that Van Gogh used? Yeah, at a certain point, but it only matters because if you look at his artwork and it moves you, then you start looking beyond the artwork into the brushstrokes, and you start going, man, there's something about the nature of his brushstrokes. Like, what is he using to get that texture? Then it's an interesting question. But just to go, oh, you're a painter. What kind of brushes do you use? Does that matter? If you've never heard a note that I created, maybe I can play, maybe I can't play. If the first question is, well, what kind of guitar picks do you use? Is it interesting for me to talk about that if I don't demonstrate any reasonable music stuff that makes you go, man, that sounds like picking is really important to him, and maybe he's very picky about what kind of plectrums he uses. Like, I think the art has to come first, and then the questions about how the art is created is interesting after that. And if you are interested, today I was using the John Petrucci signature. Oops, I'm just dropping everything, but I have another one. John Petrucci Dunlop, his version of the jazz pickup. I got these a little while ago, and I have to say I like them. I've been using all manner of jazz threes for a long time. I've got the red ones, I've got the black ones. I also have the Oltex ones. This one is the Max Grip Jazz 3, which I like it because it's got a really textured, I don't know if you can see that, almost like a tread plate kind of design on it. I've used the Tortex picks for a long time and Delrin picks. I get my picks when I order them in bulk for tours. I get them from Intune guitar picks, intunegp.com, I think is their website. And they do all my pick embossing with my web address and graphics and stuff like that. And they're basically the Delrin material, teardrop shape, jazz size guitar pick. Um, it's just been my thing. Like I got the Tortex version of them when I was a kid on accident. I had ordered a bunch of picks in the music shop I went to, ordered the wrong picks. I wanted the regular size guitar picks. This is what I thought I ordered, and I forget where I got this one, but I got this one. This is what I thought I had ordered when I was a kid. This 1.1, I think, or 1.0. Oh no. This is the 88 millimeter. But they had ordered me a bunch of these, but they were the jazz sized pointy version of these. And I was upset at first, but I was a kid, so I was like, I don't know what to do, so I just won't complain about it. And I ended up liking the jazz shape better. But in that process, I learned that I like the 1.14, which is the purple Tortex, if you're a Dunlop fan, which I am. The 1.14 millimeter, and that's what I get from Intune GP. Those are great. They wear a little bit differently than the Jazz 3 picks. I like having them around. I've kept them in my pocket for a minute, but every time I go back to the Delrin or the Tortex type material, I feel like I'm at home. That maybe it's because I've just been using it the longest, so it just seems right to me. Anyway, now I've gone off on a monologue about picks when I was trying to get off here. So yeah, the black ones are great. I tend to like the black ones better than the red ones, but the red ones are good. I liked the red ones at first because I remember reading that Eric Johnson used them back in the day. I don't know if he's still using them or not, but I actually, of the three, I like the black, but the Old Tex ones, they wear really well, and they do have a little bit of a different tone to them. I do like the Old Tex ones as well. If you have a chance to grab some of those, check them out. They're definitely worth a spin. Yeah, it's if we're talking about the Petrucci one, like it's got a smooth edge on the actual pick part of it, which is great. So that bevel pops off the strings really nicely. So, if you're a Petrucci fan, he certainly is quite a fast picker. The JP logo, the shield is raised up, so that gives you a little something to hold on to. And then the other side, is it the shield on both sides? It is the shield on both sides. So that's pretty cool. Another thing about these is they're because of the thickness of them. I think this is a 2.0. It doesn't have what we call pick memory, where after your hand heats up that it starts to flex and bend, so you only really get to play it in one direction because it bends a little bit. This you can literally pick up in any orientation, and it maintains that same surface, which is really great. Yeah, that is the good thing about all the jazz ones. They've got that little bit of raised thing. Though I will tell you a little trade secret. If you're using the regular Tortex, and again, I still prefer like the Delrin material or the Tortex material, it's dangerous. But especially when I was doing a lot more heavy metal touring, before a show, I would get on a knife and I would just do like a little tread plate scoring, at least on one side of the pick, like maybe on the thumb side. Then I knew I was going to play in this orientation. That way it would stick there. That way, if I got a little sweaty, it would kind of hang on my finger a little bit better if my grip lightened up. That's a good trick. Rather than using something sticky like tape, I hate shit like that because I need to be able to move my pick subtly. This thing where like I'll hold the pick and then I hide a pick in my middle finger. So having a sticky pick doesn't help me with that. It's also why I like the smaller jazz shape too, because I can hide that easily and still have full movement of my fingers. Yeah, so like that, try that. I find that helps a good little bit. I think think Dimebag used to do that too. I forget where I read about people doing that, but I know other people have done similar things with their guitar knobs. If say you had, and I forget what they're called, the different Gibson style volume knobs. Um, that plastic is a little slick, so if your hand is sweaty and you're just trying to, turn it up and down, that's a problem. I've seen guys just go through with just a soldering iron and just go around with the tip and just mark up around the volume and tone pots to make them a little more grippy. You just got to be careful because I picked up one guy's guitar one time who did that and got a little too heavy handed with it and like created a little jagged edge in the melted plastic. And, you're aggressively opening up the volume and turning it off. Um, you know, Ended up ripping my fingers wide open while I was playing and bleeding over that guy's guitar, which, I mean, I guess blood on the field is fair play at a metal show. Yeah, I think Rex does that too, and maybe he got the idea from Dime. All right. Well, in my time in Atlanta, it's about 20 minutes to 6. So I'm going to wrap this up, do my little Instagram thing super fast, and pack up my pedals and stuff and head on to Darwin so I can grab a little dinner before Katie and I play. So if you're in the Atlanta area, this is your last Wednesday that I have on the schedule that you can check out Dos Martins at Darwin's on a Wednesday night. And maybe there'll be more of them. But so far, that conversation has not happened. So this may be my last Wednesday working for a little bit, which may leave more time for me to do these chats. Maybe I've been looking for a time to do YouTube chats. Maybe it's Wednesday night if this is the last one for a while. So anyway, Paul, John, Martin, thank you guys so much for hanging out. And I will check in with you guys very soon. So thank you so much for making this an enjoyable live stream. I didn't think I was going to hang out this long, but you guys totally made it fun. So yay. Happy picking. Yeah, I need to get back to the UK and hopefully do stuff like this in the UK, like because I've done so many of these jams. That might be something that I offer along the way when I'm on tour because I'm not so bougie that I think I can only play at venues. I think it'd be cool to like rather than toil to find great venues, do the few big shows and then maybe book some pub jams along the way or music store jams or things like that where it's a little bit looser than it just being, hey, it's a concert with all of the stuff that goes on with that. It can be a bit more informal meet and greet, an off night where the band can still make money and get paid, but we can do something that's different than your normal band does. Like basically just do what I do here in Atlanta, but do it all over the place. I don't see there's any reason why I can't do that because really, there's nobody stopping me. So I think I'm the only person stopping me. As a matter of fact, I think I'm the only reason I haven't been doing stuff is because I've sat down. So really, it's on me to do stuff. So I'm going to start doing stuff because I need to do things. I think that's about as Yoda as I can be. Yeah, man, it's been a while, Paul. We need to hang out anyway. So cool. Yeah, watch out for more. So Kickstarter, plane ticket to the UK. Yes, that's actually not a bad idea. Or GoFundMe or a Patreon or something like that might be an interesting way of doing stuff like that for production value if travel is involved. So yeah, I will think about that. I'm actually supposed to have a conversation with somebody next week about lots of things moving forward in terms of what am I doing and how do I do it and what's important to focus on and setting those goals and making sure I feel like they're attainable. I think that's part of my problem is maybe with some stuff, my expectations were part of what were hampering my progress. Because expectations say, I think that could be my epitaph. I think that could definitely, you could, if I was known for saying one thing, expectations are a motherfucker. I'm confident in that. All right. Thanks, guys. I'm going to end it on that lovely note. We'll see you soon.